Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Accepting Reality. Jake, how's it going?
Welcome back.
Welcome
We've
back.
been away for a while, but we're back.
Yeah, we're back. We're ready to record. And we
Welcome
had
back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
YouTube's going to copyright strike us now. Uh,
Nobody knows that show. It's okay.
that's true. We had one topic that we were going to talk about. And then last night, the Biden administration decides we're going to do something that's never been done before in American history with the political. I can't say that word again. Politicization.
Cut.
Politicized, overly politicized administrative branch. There you go. I got it out there. And they raided former President Donald Trump's Mar-A-Lago estate. This is the first time this has ever happened. I was doing some research today. This never been done before. Never has the current president gone after first of all, the previous president and his opponent in the last election, where they actually are legally trying to find a crime. You know, the search warrant means there's a crime or they suspect the crime. So it's pretty crazy. I'm looking at an article here written by ABC News. This was written last night at 9:35 p.m. when the story broke, saying that the FBI agents were looking at documents that Trump had not handled and stored properly. Yes, that is what they said. That Trump.
Okay.
So, yeah, not a very good. It's not a good look right now. If that's why you have to raid the house of the former president when there's so much tension. You know, we talk about all the time how divided everybody is and just how like on edge it seems our country is. This does not help that in any way. This only makes it worse.
Listen, he wasn't home. Okay, Donald Trump was not home, right? So it's for all intents and purposes, people just believe it's empty. Okay. And you send in like 30 plus FBI agents with weapons to search the house and like, you know, boats patrolling the area and helicopter like for some documents. This is insane. And for Joey to talk for months and months during the campaign about how he was going to unify the country, every opportunity he's gotten to talk, which is a loose term because he babbles. Really no, that's all he's done is divide the country even more. You know, when he talked about vaccines, he said that basically COVID was being perpetuated because people who didn't get vaccines are the problem. And he mentioned Trump every time he talked about Afghanistan. You know, that the previous administration's handling of this whole situation is what we had to resurrect and save. And now he's openly sending the feds to raid and take documents that they feel. And I don't know, did you hear about some of the documents that they took from his office?
No.
Like they were like, apparently, I just heard this today. They took the letter that Obama had written Trump, you know, like every time a president is succeeded, they leave it on the desk. Yeah. That was like super private. They took that, which I don't know how that has anything to do with anything.
As nothing, yeah.
And then they took the letters of to and from Kim Jong-un before the settlement was, you know, reached.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like just things that are like, what does this have to do with anything going on right now? Because everyone is, at least when it first broke, they all thought had something to do with January 6th. So what does that have to do with anything about January 6th?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. And I was watching Rudy Giuliani was interviewed this morning. I was watching him give his thoughts because he's still connected to Trump, despite what the media says that Trump cursed him out and stuff like that. None of that's true. He's still a friend to Giuliani. He said, so back in January of this year, the FBI asked Trump put in better safety for those documents that he had, right? So they put a padlock on the room that
Uh-huh.
had that was keeping the documents. The FBI did. And then when they came back last night, they didn't bring the lock they didn't bring the thing to unlock the padlock. So they had to blow up their own lock because they're so incompetent. They
Yep.
had to break into their own mess, so to speak. Like, how incompetent is that? You say, listen, we want this padlock. It's classified material, and Trump didn't stop them. So they put their padlock on it, and then when they need to get back in there, they didn't bring the key. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?
I mean, it's just this whole, again, like you said, it's never happened before that an acting president, forget acting president, just
He's
that
not.
any president
Yeah.
ever has been investigated and scrutinized as much as Trump has,
Yep.
for Biden to go through the DOJ and raid his house to obtain the, and I guess there were like lawyers that were there that were told they cannot be in the house while they raid it,
Yep.
and they were filing out with backpacks of papers. And this is the most, I mean, if there's anybody that wants to try to tell me that this is not some concerted efforts that he does not try to run in 2024, I mean, this is ridiculous.
It's right there. And all I have to say, and I was watching a few conservative talk shows this morning because obviously with this big of a news, I'd like to hear their opinions on it.
Right.
One of them one of them straight up said, and he's not like a fringe conservative, he's pretty mainstream. He said there is no more unity if one side is going to do this when they get in power.
Yeah. Right.
He said there is no more he said, and to be honest, and I'm quoting him, this isn't what I'm saying. I have thoughts on it as well. He doesn't want the unity anymore. Because if this is what one side does when they have to hold on to power, we can't bring America together and keep America going like this. I thought that was
Yeah.
a really point. It's brutal. It's tough to think about, but I think it's true. I don't see how we unite with this. I really don't. I'm feeling pretty negative on it, but man, it's pretty scary
Yeah.
to read.
I mean, it's, again, you like, the worst part I think about this so far is, even though we're less than a day, is there's been no official statement as to why this happened. So people are still, as of right now, still in the dark. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what was the main reason. They don't know what it was connected to. I mean, this is like, the craziest thing is that they're openly using this as a way for the public to view Donald Trump in a negative light. But
Yep.
the problem is that if this doesn't work, like if it's released that they did this under false pretenses and they didn't, like, that's gonna do the opposite of what they want, and people are going to unite with Trump, and they're not going to go along with what they're trying to do, because this is not going to work. I mean, this is like, in those old mafia movies, and they're like, the cops are talking about arresting the mob boss, and they're like, well, we better get it right, because if we don't, like, we're going to look like idiots. And that's exactly
Yep.
what's going to happen to them.
Well, I was actually talking to my wife about it. I said if Trump runs for president and it comes out that the warrant was only because of those documents, no one will beat him. No one will beat him in the
No.
primary. No
Right.
one will beat him in the general election. I don't care if the Democrats create the greatest candidate for their party. No one will beat him. They will have to steal it. And then we'll know. But because right now, so many people are rallying around him. If you just go on social media and look up general, like, conservative figureheads, they're all saying, I'm with Trump. He's our guy. Let's go get him in 2024. Let's show him you can't do this to our country. It's pretty scary. They almost like they awoken. I don't even know if that's a word, but they woke up a pretty big sleeping giant. And that if the conservatives all get behind one person, good luck.
Even Andrew Cuomo has
I
released a tweet that said that, basically, like, hey, where's the statement from the DOJ, because we need to know what's going on at this point. This is like, the more they let us sit in the dark, the worse it's going to be, because it's going to look like they're just covering more and more up. They're trying to get their story straight. Like, this needs to be, if you decide to raid a ex-president's estate for any reason at all, you must have good reason. So it should not be taking this long to at least give a preliminary statement. You could even say, hey, listen, we're working on all the facts. This is what we've done. This is what it's possibly in connection to. Once there's more information, we'll go from there. But just nothing.
Nothing. Yep.
That's bad.
And so I'm not sure for anyone listening, to get a search warrant, you have to bring it to a judge, and the judge has to deem there's probable cause, right? The judge in Florida that ruled that this was probable cause, but we don't know the reason yet. So obviously there could be something that like they could have spun it to be like, okay, the judge is like, this needs to be looked at. We don't know. But just looking at the judge's background. So the judge at one point worked for Jeffrey Epstein. None of this is false. I'll back up any of this. He donated to Obama twice, and he supported Jeb Bush in 2016. So this guy clearly is not one of Trump's friends. I don't want to hear that it's a conservative state, so it must be a judge that like is on the conservative side. No, this guy worked for Jeffrey Epstein. We all know what Jeffrey Epstein did and didn't do, like kill himself. But
is this judge in the county jurisdiction of his home?
Yeah, he has to be. Yeah.
So I wonder, like, is this the only person that they could have gone to? The only judge they can get it from?
I think there was 3
Unless they go on
justices. There was
okay.
3 in the district, but I believe that came out that this is the one that signed off on it.
Okay. Because like, if it's the only one that could have done it, then it's like their connections don't really mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
if there was a choice, and then they went to the one that conveniently worked for one of the most disgusting human beings to ever touch the earth in the last 30 years.
As soon as I heard that they had got a warrant and they were raiding his house, I thought that this is probably going to be one of those situations where who was the judge who ordered that the documents from the Ghislaine Maxwell court case be like filed away and locked away forever? Wasn't that
James Comey's daughter?
Yeah.
That Biden moved one day before the trial started. He moved her to the court so then she could get selected.
Yeah.
But nothing. There's no conspiracy there. You can't find it. Don't believe your lying eyes and ears. George Orwell is rolling over in his grave.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So how long do you think it's going to be until we hear anything from not really from Biden, because he's not going to say anything, but from anybody about the raid?
I think they won't say anything as long as they can and let the media carry the water for them, because that's what the media does for the left. Let's be objectively honest here. There is not a network on cable news besides Fox News, which occasionally gets it right, that does not back everything the current presidential administration does. Yeah. There's nothing that they can do that these people will not spin to say it's a good thing. There's nothing.
Yeah, and even like people don't understand, and I understand if you don't like Trump and you're not a Trump fan, regardless of if you're Republican or Democrat. I mean, I liked Trump and I like him. I do think there are issues with him. So I'm not like a huge fan. I mean, I'm a fan of his, but even if you're like a staunch Democrat, you're liberal, you hate Trump, you hate Republicans, everything. Yeah. This is not something that you should be happy about, because to set a precedence of we're going to publicly raid with 30 people with weapons in an as far as they know, unattended house to get documents that we feel, I mean, that's not a good look for anybody. Like if this was if this was Obama's house, I wouldn't feel good about this at all. This was Trump saying we need to raid Obama's house. I mean, this just looks bad. It looks like, it's like a fraternity of presidents are supposed to be in its own group. They stick together. They all did the same thing. And now you just have them turning on each other. Yeah.
What happens if in 2024 if Trump wins and he wants to go after Hunter Biden, who's explicitly
that's the million-dollar question. Why hasn't this been done with Hunter Biden? Why hasn't this been done with anything about Hillary? I mean, why hasn't this been done with Obama when he spied on Trump? Yeah. I mean, why is this being done? Of the reason we have no idea, and it can't be that solid.
Yep.
I mean, come on, people. Why is this like the first time this is happening?
Well, that is why, and this is what I said to somebody. If this was a genuine legal procedure, like Trump is really into some deep stuff right now and they got to stop him, they would not hide it. And then 2, they would go after Hunter Biden, who there's videos of him with streetwalkers and measuring out how much, like how many drugs he has on him.
Yeah.
It's proven police reports that he had a loaded firearm near a kindergarten, and he was already convicted on drug charges, so that's a 10-year felony for doing that. And then he threw the gun out in the dumpster outside the school, which is another felony. It's on recorded messages that he would use his dad's role to get better business deals, and he says on there that his dad got $800,000 in one of them. Like, none of this is untrue. This is all publicly released,
Yeah.
and nothing is done. Has Trump done anything in the public eye? Like, have they found anything? Because if he did it, they would try. I mean, they made fake stuff up about the Russians and the
Right.
collusion. They made all that stuff up because it was proven false. Nice tax dollar waste. So it's clearly a double standard. It's clearly the FBI, the DOJ, the IRS, because we got to talk about the IRS thing too. That's horrifying. My grandfather worked in the IRS, and I know he wouldn't go along with that. But anyway,
yeah, it definitely
it's all political. It's all a political arm now. That's all it is.
Gee, how much stock do you give to that old saying about how, like Republicans, they play what is it? Something like Democrats play football while Republicans play lacrosse or what's that game where you polo, like
or cricket,
meaning
like
meaning
croquet.
like we don't like they would meaning in that area, like, hey, the Republicans would never do this kind of thing because they would never have the gall to do it.
Yeah.
But the Democrats just play such hardcore, they don't care.
Yep. Unfortunately, it's worked because there has been no opposition, and that's what, like, at least the one guy I was watching today, he said it's time we oppose them the way they oppose us, and I agree with him to an extent. I don't know how you can unite with a side that says this is okay, because Trump has not been found guilty of any charge they have brought forth. None. They cannot get him for anything. Now, why is that? Guilty,
You have a warrant that is to search his home and to take documents, and by all accounts, we heard that if there was anything going on with the January 6th investigation, that Trump was being cooperative. He was giving them anything they wanted.
Yeah.
They would ask for things, he would give it to. I mean, this is not something that's like as if he was being uncooperative and he was not answering their phone calls, and all of a sudden they were like, okay, well, now we just have to get a warrant because we're not getting what we need. I mean, this is something where, he's working with them. And if there was an issue that you thought that they had proof, why are you going to his house to get more proof? Why aren't you going to him? Why aren't you getting his lawyers proper? Like, this could have been done so many different ways that didn't have to be so publicized. Is that a word? Public,
that's a word. Yeah, that's
publicized.
A word.
Yeah, publicized.
Yeah, you're good.
I mean, they could have done this a lot more quietly, but again, I know I've said this twice already, but to have 30 FBI agents with guns go into a house just makes it look like, hey, we're going to flex our muscles and we're going to show that we don't mean, we mean business. It's just a joke.
It is. It's a joke. It's a political sham. It's really, I don't like to make these comparisons, but this is stuff that happened in Nazi Germany, in communist Russia, in communist China, and now you see it a lot in South America and Venezuela and Brazil and stuff like that, where once the regime got in power, not administration, because they're acting like a regime. Once the regime gets in power, they go after their previous people to send a message that no one will challenge them.
Yeah.
That's what this looks like. Now, again, and if they could just come out and say why they did it, we wouldn't all go to that thought. But unless you give us something to go off of, this is where your brain goes if you understand history.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's just, again, we don't have no idea. There's been no suggestion of what it could possibly be. Yep. So it's just, when you do that, now we're just constantly thinking about what it could be, and that's when your mind starts racing. But to do this as boldly as they did, as out in the open as they did, is Well, the main intention for me, it looks like that they were just trying to embarrass him as much as possible.
Yeah.
And it's terrible.
They're trying to
there's a reason
prosecute.
this has never been done before.
Yeah. Well, I had another thought. Think
Well,
about
what is
how
it?
incompetent the Biden administration is. Have they gotten any of their laws through without trying to use executive power or the administrative branch?
He can't talk. He can't string a sentence together. He's not going to put any laws through. Find me 30 seconds of this idiot trying to talk about anything. He can't even walk straight. He falls up steps, which is so difficult to do. Like the amount of mental lack of capability you have to fall going up steps is insane. And he can't even talk. He's talking. He's whispering in the mic. He's saying, "What was the thing he said about our concerns about inflation?" He says that we can taste them or something.
Yeah, he can taste our fears or something like that. Yeah.
Who is this
I don't
guy?
know how
And
well
now
you
we're
can
talking
taste
about
fears,
passing
but
laws. He
yeah.
can't even pick what he's supposed to wear.
And the
So
reason
no, he's incompetent. I don't even know what to call him. I don't even know.
I
What do
don't
we
even
call
know
him?
him. I mean, I think he's brain dead. He's a geriatric, but I really don't think he's calling the shots. I think whoever is in his cabinet with Kamala, I think they're calling the shots. But
And his wife, like he goes to like walk by because he doesn't talk to reporters as much. And I will say this about Trump: he did talk to reporters a lot more than he had to.
oh,
But
absolutely.
I think it shows this insane comparison when you have Trump talking to people every day, not just at press conferences. I mean, like, walking to and from the White House outside, reporters are there and they just decide to ask him questions and he stops and talks to them.
Yep.
And Joey starts to answer some questions and he's like, talking about the history of pickles in the 14th century or something when they ask about Afghanistan. And his wife is like, come on, let's go, get away. She knows
Yep.
that he's an idiot. She's like, sorry, my dumb husband can't answer your questions right now. Let me pull him away. And then when he schedules a press conference and knows the questions that are coming to him,
Yep.
and has them
who's
written down and
asking
calls them in order. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
This guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
1 million votes. Just remember that.
Yeah. You think he'll run it in 2024? Do you think he'll even make it to that point?
He says he's doing it. So I kind of hope he does. I want to see an actual debate where they can't use COVID as a way out. So
now, do you think he's actually saying that? Or do you think he's like meaning that? Or do you think this is just him answering the question in the moment because he's not cohesive and he's not all there? And so he's like, they ask him, are you running? He's like, yeah, I'm running.
that might be that. That might be the like what you just said there. But I hope somehow he is alive in 3 years or 2 years. And
I was thinking about this today. Like I heard him talking, and somebody was, and I don't know what it was, ABC or NBC or one of those two, one of those gaggle networks, and the guy was saying something about 2024, and it didn't hit me right away, and I thought about it like 10 seconds later, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's been president for only half the time.
And this is what we've dealt with. Yeah,
garbage, and we're halfway there. He's got 2 years. Like they make it sound like, because you get lost in when they talk about the midterms and stuff, but they make it sound like it's this November that is the election, and
yep.
2 years left.
And
they can't make it. Hey, gas is down though. Hey, good for that.
Gas is
good
down
job,
under
Joey.
$4. It's about time. It's really up to $1.50, but all good.
Yeah, it's like those people that go to a casino and they put $100 in, and then they lose all of it. They put $20 in and they win 10, and they're excited. You're still down.
Yeah, you're still down $8.90. So,
Joe Biden. All right, I'm done. Go ahead. What are you talking about? IRS.
The IRS. So, I think this was in the most recent bill the House passed, and I don't think it's passed the Senate yet. Let me pull it up here. So Joe Biden, I know he wants to add 87,000 more IRS agents, and there's certain levels of IRS agents. Some of them are armed, some of them are not. He wants 87,000 armed IRS agents. Now, first of all, why?
Yeah, I have no idea. Why would he? What's his reasoning?
He says it's to sustain more litigation and go after more people dodging taxes who are not paying their fair share.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So the president here, I pulled up an article from Washington Times. President Biden's proposed tax hikes and plan to hire more than 80,000 additional IRS service agents could wind up helping the super wealthy to avoid paying their fair share. Well, that wouldn't help, would it? The new system of tax hikes and credits that Democrats are championing in the $1.75 trillion social welfare and climate bill would add more tax codes and regulations. Do you know how big the tax code is? You know how many pages? Like a standard book?
Do you think I know how big the tax code is?
I don't know. Just asking. Just asking for all the viewers. I am an accountant. Yeah.
327 pages.
You got you're 1% there. It's 30,000 pages.
Hey, all right.
So, yeah, 87,000 armed agents. Now, think about this for a second. So we just saw Trump get raided, right, by a very politicized DOJ. And then we can flash back to last summer. About this time, Biden tried to use OSHA to enforce a nationwide vaccine mandate. We don't forget that. People got to stop
Right.
having short-term memory. He tried to make it where you don't get to work if you don't get a vaccine. Don't
Right.
forget that in the election. And now he's using another unelected group of people to enforce his agenda. So what if the Democrats, let's say they allegedly dominate the midterms, which would go against all his,
Allegedly.
yeah. Let's say they do that, and then they pass a climate change bill where now you have to pay a carbon tax. And what if people who actually have the sense together and realize this is unjust taxation without representation is the reason this country exists, and says, no, I'm not paying it. Well, now he's got 80,000 more troops that are called IRS agents that are going to come into your house with guns and make you pay it, or you're going to take you off to jail. Now, what I just said is most likely not true, but it certainly doesn't seem out of reach when they're raiding the former president's house and not telling us why.
Yeah,
see how that connects?
So these IRS agents are going to be considered a form of like law enforcement, right?
The IRS is considered law enforcement, yeah.
So they're going to be okay. I don't know how that makes. Well, I mean, hey, does can we say that the Second Amendment does not allow? You know, the Second Amendment kills people, so they're not allowed to have guns. The end. That's my argument, Joe. Actually, you know, if I told him, if you gave me 5 minutes with Joe Biden, and you're like, just ask him whatever you want for 5 minutes. Well, first of all, I could just tell him 5 minutes never went by. He'd believe it because he doesn't know. There's no abstract of time. But if I said to him, "Hey, you know, the you have to watch out because the 24th Amendment allows people to carry guns, and you don't," he'd be like, "Well, you know what, you're right," because you know he's an idiot. So this IRS thing. So now, what's the have they ever said it? Has this been something that they've been like planning a long time, or what was the result of this? Like, what's the reasoning behind it? Have they said?
They have not said. They will. I'm doing some more reading. I'm on another website. Apparently, the IRS has not been able to keep up with their increases demand for staff.
Yeah.
Wow. So they're saying that because of they've fallen so far behind, that they need more staff. So Biden's going to hire the more people than the size of his hometown.
Okay. As like an incentive-based program to get more
taxes.
People?
Yeah.
Is that
He's convinced that if we get more agents to be unelected bureaucrats, then they'll be able to bully the people that don't like the Democrats' New World Order agenda. And I'm just going to call it what it is because that's what it is. Let's just call it what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. The Democrats are all for globalism and because they're against anything Christian, anything patriotic, and anything nationalist. Any of those, if one of those three come up, it's like a warning sign to a Democrat. If you're Christian, or if you're a nationalist, if you want the best for America first and then to figure out the rest later, or if you're, what's the last one I said? Oh, if you're a patriot, if you love your country and you don't grow up hating the land you live on, then you're a problem for the Democrats. So
Right. Hey, before we go, since you talked about hating, if you basically like your country too much,
yeah.
can we spend about 5 minutes talking about this Brittany Grimer situation?
Oh, sure.
About how she's arrested and she's in Russia, and she was convicted of 9 years.
Yeah, 9 years in prison. Yeah,
for possession of weed, and the moment she's been arrested, they've talked about her wanting to obviously be released, but that we're going to have an exchange, a possible prisoner exchange of somebody that Russia wants. Now, is the 9-year sentence a crazy sentence? Obviously, yeah, it is. It's insane if you're going to sentence somebody for 9 years for possession of weed. But I don't care because, well, for one, she's been there a million times.
She knows their laws.
She knows the law. She understands what it would take and what would happen if she were to be caught with marijuana. Yet, because she wants to come home and she's an American, we need to drop everything and I don't understand that whole way of thinking. Yes, she's an American, but she's also somebody that really doesn't think our country's a very great place to live. From what she said, she doesn't stand for the national anthem. She says she has a huge problem with all the Constitution. She has, there's so many freedoms that we don't have, that with women and between women and men and everything. And I wonder how she would say about our country now if we asked her. But I just don't understand this whole, we need to get her back at all costs and possibly exchange an arms dealer for her.
I disagree with exchanging the arms dealer. The punishment is too severe. I don't agree with Russia's laws, but I'm not Russian. So maybe when you go into other countries, you should not break their laws. That would be my advice to anybody traveling outside of America. And maybe you should realize how good you have it here. That's what I think a lot of people need to take away from it. Instead, they're taking away, Russia, Putin, bad, because the media and the mainstream media brainwashing has done such a good job where you hear words like Russia or Putin or Trump and people go, ugh. That's it.
It's then you set a precedence of, okay, well, what does that mean? That if a country has different laws than us and they are more or less egregious, and if they are in fact less, then that means that we need to release a prisoner who's foreign that may or may not commit the same crime. Like if somebody in Russia goes to jail for a year for murder, yet they come over here for murder, I know it's a totally different thing, and it's way different than just having marijuana. But if they come over here and we sentence them to life in prison, are we supposed to give them back to their country because it's way more of a sentence than we would have had over here, or Russia would have had? No. Why does this have to be a thing? I don't understand it. Let's just drop it.
I don't either. She made her choices. She's gonna suffer for it.
And the whole thing, I don't know. Has Kamala Harris? I don't even want to say her name right. Has Kamala made any kind of comment about this? The person who puts people in jail for weed for life in California.
No,
she said anything about
she has
this?
not. Of course not. That's too fitting.
I wonder why. I mean, the other bad thing about that is that we're trying to get somebody out of jail for a crime that we have thousands of people in jail for here. So that I don't understand at all. It's insane.
That's why I started this, and I ended this with, I hate to break it to everybody, we are living in a banana republic, kangaroo court, whatever you want to call it. It's a joke. Like we said several times, last night's events pretty much confirm when everyone who has two brain cells to rub together, this country is being run by a bunch of idiots, and we are left to try to figure out how to fix it.
Yep.
So
see what happens.
On that very depressing note, we're going to wrap up. You can find us. We are DJ Media on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Accepting Reality, the standalone podcast, is available on Spotify and iTunes and Amazon. And as well as if you like using a web browser, I see that some people use the actual base web browser for Google. So yeah, we
Looking up statistics.
stuff.
We're on TikTok.
No, we're not on TikTok. China's not getting all my information.
That's funny.
And
Sure.
yeah, and on YouTube, we will have the full podcast as well. If you have like a YouTube Premium, because I know you can listen to that like an audio file then. So again, DJ Media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. The podcast itself is available on YouTube, on the DJ Media channel, Spotify, iTunes. Jake, any last words?
Dobronots.
What did you just say?
Dobronots. That's farewell or good evening in Czech.
Oh, we're both Czechoslovakian. That's right. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Dobronots. Dobro.
on that note, have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you next time.